Before you take off with the DJI Neo 2, there are a few things you really need to know. Some of them are great, some are small warnings, and some are things DJI will never tell you in a promo video. The Neo 2 is one of the most fun and capable little drones they have released in the last few years, but it also has a couple of hidden limitations that most new pilots only discover after a few flights, or after their first mistake. So in this video, I want to give you 10 things you must know before your first flight. We will talk about weight and flight category, real-world battery life, flying over water, obstacle sensors, storage, camera limits, controllers and goggles, durability, and finally who this drone is actually made for. So let's start. Weight and flight category. The first thing you should understand about the Neo 2 is its weight. It sits around 151 grams, so it stays comfortably under the 250 gram threshold that a lot of countries use for lighter regulations. That number is not just a marketing detail. It actually changes how and where you can fly. In many regions, sub-250 drones can fly with fewer restrictions, less paperwork, and they attract less attention. When people see a small, rounded drone with built-in prop guards, they do not feel like there is a huge professional aircraft hovering over them. That makes a big difference in parks, on holidays, and busy public spaces. At the same time, you should not treat it as a toy just because it is light. The Neo 2 is still fast, it still has real momentum, and if you hit someone in the face from close range, they will absolutely feel it. The prop guards help a lot, but this is still a real drone and you should respect it like one. Real flight time versus what DJI says on the box and in the specs, DJI claims up to 19 minutes of flight time. That number is technically true in a controlled environment with gentle flying and almost no wind. In real life, your experience will be different. Most people will see around 10 to 12 minutes of comfortable flying per battery. If you are flying slowly, taking your time, and not pushing the motors too hard, you might stretch it to 14 or 15. But if you climb aggressively, chase bikes, fly into the wind, or use sport mode a lot, you will watch the percentage drop much faster than you expect. You also lose a bit of time at the start and end of every flight. You take off, get your framing, check the shot, and you always want to land with a safe reserve rather than squeezing every last percent. That means in practice you never get the full 19 minutes anyway. So the realistic expectation is one battery equals one proper short session. If you want to record more serious footage or just enjoy the drone for longer than 10 minutes, you need more batteries. The Fly More Type combo with the extra pack and charging hub is not really a luxury with this drone, it is almost required. Obstacle sensing, helpful, not magic. One of the biggest upgrades over the original Neo is the obstacle sensing. The Neo 1 mainly relied on downward sensors. The Neo 2 brings proper omnidirectional awareness using front vision sensors, other vision inputs, and additional assistance. On paper, it sounds like you are fully protected from all sides. In reality, you are protected from a lot, but not everything. The sensors do a great job with big things: walls, cars, doors, people, large trees. They react quickly, slow the drone down, and can stop it from crashing in many everyday situations. It is a massive safety net for beginners, especially indoors or in tight spaces. But there are still weak spots: small branches, thin wires, glass surfaces, reflective objects, very low light, or fast, unpredictable movement can all confuse the system. In those cases, the drone can still clip something even with obstacle avoidance turned on. So you should think of the obstacle system as a second pair of eyes, not a shield. It will save you from a lot of silly mistakes, right? But it is not an excuse to fly full speed into a forest or dive towards water at 1 meter height and assume the software will fix everything. Alright, flying over water. This is the question that appears in almost every comment section. Can the Neo 2 fly safely over water? The answer is yes, but with conditions. The Neo 2 can absolutely handle flights over lakes, rivers, or the sea as long as you maintain a safe altitude and have good GPS lock. The risk appears when you fly too close to the surface. It's like water is a difficult mirror. It can be dark, flat, shiny, or constantly moving. Downward sensors can misread the distance or lose stable reference. When that happens, the drone might show wrong altitude, drift slightly, or in some cases behave strangely if it thinks the ground is closer or further than it really is. If you mix that with beginner stick inputs, you get problems. So the simple rule is, do not skim the surface. Stay 2 to 3 meters above the water at minimum, more if you are not experienced. Avoid low flying in very dark or highly reflective water, and as a new pilot, do not choose over the ocean as your first big test flight. The shots can be beautiful, but the margin for error is small. Storage limitation. One thing that surprises a lot of people when they first get the Neo 2 is storage. There is no micro SD card slot. You only get internal memory, around 49 gigabytes built in. For casual users, that is actually nice. You do not have to remember a card. You do not accidentally fly with an empty slot. Everything you record is already inside the drone, and you can offload it later. But if you are shooting 4K at 60 frames per second or using 4K 100 with a controller, that space fills faster than you think. This drone is not designed for filming an entire event in one take. It is built around short clips, fast creative bursts, and quick highlights of your day. Once the internal storage is full, that's it. You have to stop, transfer, and clear space. So for trips or longer sessions, it is a good habit to offload regularly instead of waiting until the warning appears in the middle of a nice flight. Camera quality and its limits. The camera on the Neo 2 is very good for the size, and for the target user, you get a 1/2-inch sensor, 12 megapixel photos, 4K up to 60 frames per second, and 4K at 100 frames when you pair it with the right controller. The 2-axis gimbal plus electronic stabilization combination delivers very smooth footage for such a small drone. Colors have that familiar DJI look, slightly cool whites, a safe curve that protects highlights, and footage that is easy to use straight out of camera. For travel, casual content, biking, walking shots, or family use, it looks great. But it's important to know what you are not getting. There's no raw photo mode, no D-Log, and no advanced picture profiles aimed at professional color grading. Dynamic range is good for a small drone, but not at the level of a Mini 5 Pro or an Air Series drone. If you are a filmmaker trying to match this with a cinema camera or a mirrorless body in a graded project, you will hit some limits. So think of Neo 2 as a creator camera rather than a cinema tool. For social media, YouTube, travel vlogs, POV style flying with goggles, it is more than enough. For serious commercial work, it is more of a backup or a B cam in tight spaces. Controllers and goggles. The next big area of confusion is compatibility. A lot of people ask which controllers and goggles actually work with the Neo 2. The short, clean version is this. Neo 2 works with the newer generation of DJI remotes and goggles, the ones built around the latest transmission system. It supports controllers like RC2, RCN3, RCN2, and it works with Motion Controller 3 and the FPV Remote Controller 3. For goggles, it supports Goggles 3 and Goggles N3. Older controllers from Mini 2 era or previous lines are not compatible. If you own modern DJI drones already, there is a good chance you can reuse at least one controller or goggles with the Neo 2. If you do not, you will be using your phone at first, or buying into that ecosystem. There's also the separate digital link or transceiver module for Neo 2 that gives you much stronger and cleaner signal, similar to O4 performance. If you want to push range, fly in busy environments, or use goggles, that module is worth considering because it makes the whole flying experience feel more confident. Battery handling and small quirks. When you first start swapping batteries on the Neo 2, they usually feel tight, right? You need to press the latches properly and pull the pack straight out. Do not twist, do not yank it sideways. After a few days of use, it becomes more natural. There are a couple of behavior patterns that are worth knowing. Steep climbs and aggressive directional changes drain a lot more power than gentle cruising. Cold weather will reduce flight time compared to warm conditions. Sport mode eats the battery dramatically faster than normal. The good side is that the packs cool relatively quickly and the charging hub is simple and fast. But if you are planning to spend an afternoon flying, do not expect 1 or 2 batteries to cover everything. It is better to treat Neo 2 the same way you treat an action camera. Always have more power than you think you need. 9. Durability, crashes, and weak points. One of the most underrated strengths of the Neo 2 is durability. Because of the built-in propeller guards and compact frame, it can survive bumps that would seriously damage open-arm drones. Light hits into doors, walls, or chairs indoors often leave you with a bit of scuffing and nothing else. That does not mean it is unbreakable, but compared to many other mini drones, it feels forgiving. You are less scared to fly it in tight spaces, which is exactly the whole point of the design. There is, however, one area you should be careful with: the rear antenna section. Since it sticks out at the back, a strong backwards crash or pressure in a tight bag could stress or bend that part. So when you store the drone, make sure that back section is not being crushed or pushed. Treat it like a tough little drone with one fragile tail. Fly it with care, but know that small accidents are not the end of the world. Pricing, availability, and who should actually buy it. Pricing and availability for Neo 2 depend heavily on your region. Some countries have official distribution, others see delays or rely on imports. In almost all cases, it sits in the middle zone, clearly more capable and more expensive than toy drones, but cheaper and less serious looking than something like a Mini 5 Pro or bigger. So the real question is not, is it cheap or expensive, right? But who is it really for? Neo 2 makes the most sense for beginners who want a safe first drone, travelers who want something light, quiet, and easy to pack, casual vloggers who want quick aerial shots, bikers and walkers who need a small companion, and people who want FPV-style goggles flying without jumping into full FPV builds. It is also great as a secondary drone for experienced pilots who want something they can fly indoors or in places where a larger drone feels too risky. If you are a dedicated professional who already owns larger drones for paid work, Neo 2 will not replace those. But it can still be a fun little tool for scouting, practicing, or grabbing spontaneous clips without a big setup. Verdict. So those are the 10 things you really need to know before flying the DJI Neo 2. Once you understand the real-world battery life, the limits of the sensors, the storage situation, the camera strengths and weaknesses, and who this drone is designed for, it becomes much easier to decide if it fits your use case. For what it is meant to do, the Neo 2 is excellent. It is not trying to be a flying cinema rig. It is trying to be the most approachable, confidence-building small drone in the lineup. When you fly it, you are not constantly worrying about crashing big exposed propellers or messing with complicated settings. You are thinking about the shot, the moment, and the experience. If that is the kind of flying you want, then the Neo 2 makes a lot of sense. And if you are already getting one, at least now you know exactly what to expect, both the good and the bad. Thank you for watching till the end. I will see you in the next one. Peace.